Hey guys.
How's it going?
It's just me and Logan this week.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little under the weather and schedules have been pretty crazy, so we thought we'd just do like a quick one-off and, give you guys something to, chew on until we post the next one. So
Yeah. Well, I didn't say who I was. I'm Franny. That's Logan. And we are half of Crosscut Cinema Podcast.
2/3 of a pilot podcast.
2/3 of a pilot podcast.
And one whole ass mess.
Definitely a whole ass mess.
We're not even in the studio. I'm so not feeling good right now that I'm posted up on a couch holding a microphone, like laying on the couch.
And I am the one working the podcast equipment.
So if it sounds bad, you know why.
Yeah, if it's a little different this time, if the beats are off, that's my bad, not Logan.
But anyway, so we're going to talk about James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Not David Ayer's Suicide Squad, but James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. So, did you want me to just kind of dive into like how this movie came to be?
Yeah.
Okay, so The Suicide Squad only exists because James Gunn used to post mean and gross things on Twitter, and Disney decided, hey, you know what? We're not going to have you direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3 anymore. So, after he got busted from his contract from Marvel, of course, DC and Warner Brothers was like, this is the guy who directs the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He took characters like Rocket Raccoon and Drax the Destroyer and made them mainstream titles. So they thought, let's just give this guy any amount of money he wants to make any movie he wants. And that's when they approached him. And even though they had agreed in the past, based on how bad the first Suicide Squad movie did, when he said he wanted to do The Suicide Squad, they said, fucking deal. You bet.
Wow.
The only title they were not willing to give him was Wonder Woman.
Why?
Because Patty Jenkins directed the first Wonder Woman, which was really successful, and they've set a precedent that Wonder Woman should only be directed by a woman.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
But it's not like he was looking to do that anyway.
Yeah.
So after he got the job and things were all said and done, then Marvel came back around because all of the Guardians of the Galaxy cast was like, we're not going to do the next movie if it's not James Gunn. So Marvel got him back, but at this point, he had already agreed to do Suicide Squad. So now, basically, he talked to Marvel and was like, I'm not going to have an exclusivity deal with you if you want to do this. So now James Gunn plays for both teams.
Wow, so he exists in both the Marvel and the DC universe. Mm-hmm. He's the first crossover between the two?
Other than David Daschilin, I think, or David Malchin or something. Whatever, the dude who plays Polka Dot Man was also in the Ant-Man movies.
Oh, really?
So, there's actually tons of crossover. You got Michael Rooker, who plays Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy, playing Savant in this movie.
James Gunn is the same guy in both universes. The guy behind the camera.
Yeah, he's the same guy holding a tripod.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually works the camera himself. He doesn't hire cameramen.
Is Sean Gunn in the in Marvel?
Yes, Sean Gunn plays one of Yondu's henchmen, as well as he does the motion capture for Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, I'm rewatching Gilmore Girls for the millionth time, as you'll know if you've listened to our episode on a pilot podcast. I'm a mega fan, and Logan was watching it with me, and he was like, "Oh, that's Sean Gunn. I guess Sean Gunn plays Kirk in it." Didn't know that. Yeah,
it's weird. I always assumed that he was an actor because James Gunn is a director, but I guess not because the show is super old. So
yeah, and he's definitely not like a star actor in it, but
he's in the title sequence. I watched it. He's in the fucking title sequence.
Yeah, and he's in a lot of the show.
What title sequence are you in? You're not in any title sequences.
No, I'd say his acting isn't the best, but it's Gilmore Girls.
That show's acting across the board is terrible. Just terrible.
And I still love it. Anyways.
But yeah, so now he kind of exists in both worlds, and what he did was he's decided, I want to make a Suicide Squad movie, but I want to make it R-rated, just like how the comics were always more mature.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make it like how the comics were, where basically the constant fear is that these weird heroes that you draw like an affection to can die at any moment because it's a suicide mission. In the first movie, David Ayer really fucked that up by basically only having a few people die and it not being fun at all or you caring about any of the characters. And James Gunn literally took it and flipped it on its head by having Bloodsport instead of Deadshot, which is basically the same character. Having him have a daughter dynamic, but instead of it being like a sweet daughter dynamic where Batman for some reason comes in and arrests some chick's dad, instead in this movie he's like a bad toxic father who's screaming "fuck you" at his kid.
I know,
which is exactly how a supervillain would be.
Yeah.
So I think that if Suicide Squad didn't already exist, I think this movie would be Guardians big.
Oh yeah.
But as you might have heard, it hasn't been that big. But we'll get to that more so after we kind of give it our review. Okay, so Franny, what did you think of The Suicide Squad?
Well, I feel like we kind of need to go over the plot first.
Okay, go ahead.
But while I'm like kind of thinking about the plot, I really did like this movie a lot better, and I was very excited for the original like Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like every like post emo kid was like, Joker and Harley, that's us. You know, like everybody wanted to go see that shitty ass movie and thought it was going to be good, especially considering, you know, you got Will Smith, you got Margot Robbie for the first time portraying the iconic Harley Quinn character. You know, like there was tons to look forward to. And what's her face who can't act playing Enchantress?
Oh fuck, Cara
Delevingne or whatever. Yeah, she was fucking terrible. She is oddly absent, thank God, from this movie.
Which was a good choice. Yeah. I forgot about that character until you just said something.
Yeah, what's weird is her and Rick Flagg were like together, so
you're right.
So I guess like Rick was just like, it didn't work out. But right. Yeah, no, like this movie, it really parallels the first movie in so many ways with like Bloodsport, Deadshot.
Yeah.
You have Killer Croc, who was super fucking annoying, trashy, maybe even slightly racist in the original Suicide Squad, paired with King Shark. What's his name again? King Shark's real name? Like Nanaue?
Yeah.
Where it's basically the same character, but I think that James Gunn, having done characters like Groot and stuff like that, knew how to write a different kind of simpler character, a gentle giant, way better than David Ayer did, because James Gunn also worked on the script and like was really hands-on with the project. By the way, this is going to be spoilers zone. Like, if you don't want things spoiled for you, this is not the podcast to listen to. I recommend checking out in theaters, especially considering the bad box office result. I think that people should go support the movie. But if you don't want to go out because of the Delta variant, or you can't afford to go out, it is on HBO Max right now till September 5th.
Mm-hmm. So the main plot, intelligence officer Amanda Waller, that fucking cunt, assembles the Suicide Squad again, and assembles.
What is this? Some kind of Suicide Squad? God. Sorry, it's just a reference to the first movie.
Assembles 2 Suicide Squads this time, and 2 Task Force X teams led by Colonel Rick Flagg, and the other one led by Bloodsport. And Bloodsport wasn't about the Suicide Squad at first. He was kind of blackmailed into it by cunt face Amanda Waller.
Amanda Waller saying in the state that his daughter lived in, being a 16-year-old, you can be tried as an adult.
Yeah.
And then basically,
I guess she like shoplifted some shit.
And Amanda Waller was going to use all of her power to literally have this girl sent to prison and then murdered in prison.
Yeah.
Just to get Bloodsport to do this. And then actually the funny thing is, just like a little Easter egg for you, the reason we find out Bloodsport's in prison is because he shot Superman with a kryptonite bullet, which was actually the original script idea James Gunn had for the Suicide Squad movie, The Squad versus Superman, which was the original idea. They went against that because they didn't know the future of Superman, whether Henry Cavill was going to continue portraying the character. Plus, they wanted, since like they were giving him so much freedom, they're like, hey, we just need to like kind of close things off and see how this movie does before we give you something so big, like our biggest character being defeated by a group of fucking ragtag morons. But I would totally pay to see that movie too. So, I mean, I'm happy with what we get, but like, how great would it be if the movie was the Suicide Squad versus Superman? Yeah.
You got a point there. That'd be way different than it turned out. I feel like there wasn't really like a good guy in this besides the Suicide Squad. We're like the closest people to the good guys.
I think that I think Rick Flagg is a good guy. Yeah. And I think that like oddly enough, Harley in this is very anti-hero
Yeah.
but oddly endearing in a lot of ways. Like, for instance, early on, we'll get to the 2 task force thing right now. So basically,
yeah, she sends 2 task force.
well, we don't know that. The thing is, you don't know this in the beginning.
No.
The movie opens with Michael Rooker's portrayal of Savant being told, like, hey, you're going to be a member of this squad, and it's going to get 10 years off your sentence, and you meet the new team. You have, like, Blackguard and Weasel, and at this point in time, you're not seeing any of the other characters that you know are going to be in the movie.
It has that one guy from SNL.
Yeah, Pete Davidson playing Blackguard.
Yeah.
You have Sean Gunn playing Weasel. You have the detachable kid being played by Nathan Fillion. Yeah, like a bunch of, like, very weird, like that's the other thing too, is James Gunn is like so good at taking like these really fucking shit ass properties and like the worst characters and making them interesting. I mean, I think Polka Dot Man speaks for himself.
Definitely. But Harley's there.
Harley's
and Rick
there, yes.
Flagg are there.
And Rick Flagg are there. And Boomerang and Captain Boomerang are there. Those are the only 3 that you originally remember from the first movie, other than Amanda Waller's character, at this point in time.
Yeah.
So
they go to Corto Maltese, an island. South
wow,
American.
I can't believe you remember the name of the fucking island. That's insane.
I mean, with a quick Google, you can remember anything.
Nice.
But
okay. So anyway, they land on this island, right? And first things first, they're all flying. They're all like hopping out of this plane. Yeah. Actually, there is one good thing I want to mention before we get to that. There's a great character building scene where they're all on this plane, and they're all talking about, like, is Weasel like a fucking werewolf? Like, what is he? And they're all freaking out. And Pete Davidson's character Blackguard is like freaking out, like, I'm not gonna sit next to a werewolf, blah blah blah. And there's this great joke where Rick Flagg's like, he's totally harmless. Well, actually, he killed 27 children, but other than that, he's totally harmless.
Right. And they're going to this nation because there's an anti-American terrorist regime. That
from our understanding, there's some anti-American regime they're trying to topple.
Yeah.
And so they all airdrop from the plane into the water, and that's when they realize that Weasel cannot swim.
And there's the first death of the movie.
Yes. And or so you think.
What was there a death prior?
Well, at the end of the movie, you find out that Weasel survived.
Oh yeah, you're fucking right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But that's the so-called
Sean
first
Gunn
step.
lives.
Yeah, Sean Gunn lives as a rapist or child molesting Weasel. So they all get on this island, and then you just see that there are just hundreds of people already prepared there because Blackguard, Pete Davidson's character, double-crossed them.
Yeah.
Instantly shot in the face, by the way. Right away.
He walks out and he's like, I brought them. There's supposed to be some kind of deal, right? And gets fucking shot. And then they all just get fucking
They're all just getting
brutalized.
wasted. I mean, you see the detachable kid, his arms start getting blasted off of his body, and then
God.
He's ripped apart. You see Javelin get fucked up.
Instantly, you're like, oh yeah, this is rated R.
Yeah. So basically, and that's the thing too, is it's a hard R. If you've ever seen James Gunn's movie Slither, it's a classic. It's a weird kind of horror comedy deal, and basically, that movie has tons of gore used as a form of comedy. I don't think he was able to do that in the MCU for obvious reasons, but in this movie, because he had so much creative freedom, he was able to really make it disgusting and have those gore moments be part of the comedy. And that's the thing too. This whole movie is riddled with fucking uncomfortable comedy. So and it's awesome. And it really improves everything because we're talking about supervillains that kill people. I mean, why wouldn't it be a bloody gory mess? This is what they do. So they're all getting nuked. Captain Boomerang, very sad moment, gets blown to bits. And I know a lot of people don't like Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang. I actually found him to not be one of the worst things in this movie or in the last movie.
Yeah.
Some people really hate him, I get that, but it was still fucked up to see one of the OG characters just get blasted open.
Yeah, and at this point, you don't really know there's another task force unless you watch a fuck ton of trailers or anything. But
and even if you watch a fuck ton of trailers, you don't know that the reason that this task force is brought to the island.
Yeah.
Amanda Waller is planning on killing Harley and Rick Flagg and all these people as a way to divert this army on this island so the other task force can sneak onto shore.
Yeah, her like more hardcore task.
Yeah,
force.
the one that she actually wants. This basically she considered all these other people collateral. Like I don't care if you die or not. And it's really sad when you see Michael Rooker as Savant like start freaking out. Like everybody's dying, everybody's gonna die, and so he starts swimming into the ocean to try to get away, and they just blow his head up.
Yeah.
So fucked up. And that's then you get the title sequence.
Harley gets a javelin too from the one dude.
From Javelin. Javelin goes, you need to take this javelin for, and then he dies. She's like, for what?
Yeah.
Slaps him, tries to slap him awake.
Harley and Rick escape. Well,
Kinda.
Harley gets captured.
Harley's
and Rick,
captured. Rick is captured, we think.
Yeah.
So anyway, at this point in time, they do a flashback to the prison, and they show them confronting Bloodsport, the whole daughter thing. She starts talking about how everybody's individual for their tasks, and like everybody has their specific thing. And then just right after she says like every individual person has a specific skill that's unique to them, she goes, "You were raised by your father. You're like this like trained killer." And then she goes and says the exact same thing about Peacemaker, verbatim.
Yeah, that was great.
Which Peacemaker in this movie is a great opposite, like a paradigm of Bloodsport, where they're both basically the same archetype character, but they have two completely different methodologies to them. Like they both are capable of accomplishing the same things. They both are basically the same type of supervillain. But one is like completely motivated by money and self-interest, and the other one has a weird, deep-seated, like, I guess you could say,
like love for like liberty.
Yeah. I was gonna say like indoctrination almost.
Yeah. And just great performances too. John Cena was fucking hilarious.
John Cena was legit funny in this movie, and I usually don't like him and stuff.
Oh my god, he was so good in this.
He was great in this.
And they're funny opposite each other too.
Yeah,
Idris
definitely. Idris Elba also, who isn't like, I mean, Idris Elba can be funny. He was in Luther, he has a couple of one-liners and stuff in Luther and stuff, but this is the first time I've seen him carry a movie that was like basically a comedy. And he was legit funny the whole time.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like a lot of that had to do with him acting opposite John Cena the whole time. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like that brought out a lot of comedy in the acting. They worked well together.
And through this scene,
it was fun.
Through this scene, you start meeting like the real team.
Yeah.
Where you meet Peacemaker, you meet Bloodsport, you meet Rat King 2.
Ratcatcher 2,
sorry. And Nanawe and Polka Dot Man. Which is like obviously like old school villain, like Mr. Mix-a-Plick level of cringe. And they made him fucking awesome in this movie, by the way. So his whole thing is he basically was experimented on at Star Labs, much like how the Flash got his powers via Star Labs, and an explosion in a laboratory gave him super speed. They tried to recreate that, and his mother was basically this abusive mother who was making all of her children become superheroes. And he has this condition where when he sees people, all he sees is his mother.
Intergalactic virus is what he has too. But he does have that condition where he only sees his mother. That's fucking hilarious.
But the reason why he gets filled up with polka dots and like can shoot polka dots is he has this intergalactic virus.
I love that that's just the explanation too. Like they didn't try to fucking like tell you like a bunch of bullshit. They're just like, it's an intergalactic virus.
It's just so hard to explain. It's like, when you have an anthropomorphic... Well, I guess he's not anthropomorphic. When you have an active character that's a rat... how much can you really...
Sebastian.
Sebastian. How much can you... Like, you just have to suspend your disbelief.
Oh, I love it. I love that they don't fucking try to give you bullshit. They're just like, here's a shark, and here's a person that controls rats. There you go.
Yeah,
and a fucking polka dot man.
Basically, they get given this thing. They're like, it's this Operation Starfish thing where they're basically going and they're trying to destroy this terrorist organization stuff. When they land there on the island, they're like, hey, Rick Flagg's fucking alive, bro. can you go save him for me, is what Amanda Waller says. And they go and they rip apart everybody, because Amanda Waller says everybody in this jungle's dangerous, treat everyone with deadly force. Turns out that they single-handedly murdered families and rebels.
The whole resistance.
And the way they were killing them was like competitive. Like Peacemaker and Bloodsport were competing for the most creative ways they were killing people. And then I think in a way Polka Dot Man kind of won.
Yeah.
And that's where you learn like, oh, how like killing people's hard, but once I imagine they're my mother, it's easy. And you're like, wow, Polka Dot Man needs therapy.
Yeah, Polka Dot Man is like, you wouldn't think it at first, but he's fucking hardcore.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Like instantly when you see them like slaughter this fucking innocent village, you're like, oh fuck, this is like the badass team that you wanted.
So
they're hardcore.
So they talk to Rick and the last member of the resistance. And the lady of the resistance was like, I guess I'm going to side with you because lesser of two evils, I guess.
And then fucking King Shark like burps up a foot or some shit.
Yeah. Oh my God. I know.
He was hilarious too.
Yeah. And then like King Shark in this, who's voiced by Sylvester Stallone, by the way, is really incredible in this. So they capture the scientist dude who's going to help them get inside of it. And then they come to learn that Harley Quinn is alive. And they all agree to go rescue her. Now, in the meantime, while all this insanity's happen, Harley's met the leader of this country, and he's fallen in love with her. And they're like having like hot wild sex and shit, and you know, she's being a toxic girl as she always is.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, she's crazy. And then he says something like, I'll do anything to like get this country under control, blah, blah, blah. I'll kill children, blah, 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 blah. And when he says he'll kill children, she shoots him in the most painful possible way ever and has him bleed on the ground. Because according to her, ever since Joker, she looks out for toxic traits in men.
Yeah, she said red flags.
Red flags. And she considered that one. Now, what's so weird is this movie has tons. I don't know if this was intentional.
Yeah.
But there is tons of references to the importance and the sanctity of children.
Makes me think like QAnon, like fucking save
I
the
hope
kids.
not. I fucking hope not.
Like, why does it give me those vibes?
I think the reason they did it, why so many, because first off, you have Bloodsport doing this for his child. You have Ratcatcher 2, right?
Ratcatcher 2, yep.
She's a daughter, but also like she has this like connection with Bloodsport because he has a daughter. Polka Dot Man was experimented on as a kid. There's tons of references to children and like I find it interesting, but I think it's because we have to find a way to associate like, oh, we like these characters to serial killers and murderers and shit. And I think that everybody can relate to like, okay, kids are always off limits as far as like these heinous crimes go.
Yeah.
And that's why we can side with this group, because we now know that the enemy, whether it be, you know, spoilers, Starro, or whether it be this government, they don't care whether they attack kids or not. And that's the whole deal. Because later on, there's a point in the movie where they're like, after everything's said and done, they're about to go fucking fight Starro, and Amanda Waller's going to blow up their heads because she doesn't want them to.
Yeah.
But all the other people in the office at this prison, or I guess you could say this government organization, this intelligence agency, know that there's going to be kids who are murdered because of this. And so they put a mutiny against Amanda Waller and assist the Suicide Squad.
They knock her out.
They do.
They hit her in the back of the head.
It's a great flip too, because earlier in the movie you just see these people betting on which criminal's gonna die when they go do this mission, and they come off like total scumbags, and then they make this flip.
Yeah, but they also like all kind of flipped out about Amanda Waller too when they heard her like talking about killing Bloodsport's kid.
Yeah, they had a weird reaction to that where they were like, you weren't really going to do that, right? And she's like, you don't know the things I do. And she's so much better than in the first movie, because now, in the first Suicide Squad movie, she was almost too tailored to a point where she was like, so calm and composed about everything. Whereas like, you see her lose her shit in this, and you see that she is like bureaucratic to a fault. Like she works for this intelligence agency. She doesn't work for the parameters of good or evil.
Yeah. She just wants to get the mission complete, regardless of who's in the way.
Because what we come to learn is that Starro and Operation Starfish is actually an American experiment.
When you said Operation Starfish, I smiled. So I was just thinking about the John Cena, like.
Oh yeah, John Cena makes a quote like, "Starfish is a euphemism for butthole." You think there's a relation?
No.
There's tons of good one-liners in this. I really love, like... okay, first of all, I just want to say that there's a great costume gag where they all put on street clothes and, like, everybody looks pretty normal. Except John Cena is in this fucking outfit in this bar that is the funniest outfit ever. He has like this dad polo on. That's too small.
It's a Lacoste polo and it's a crop top on him just about.
Showing his midriff and shit. Yeah. And he's got these fucking cargo shorts on and it's
that are just booty shorts.
And like this is a trained killer. Like this dude has insane precision. So anyway, after they get the scientist guy, because I'll just go back to where we were, they're going to go save Harley, right?
Yeah. Gaius Greaves?
Gaius Greaves.
Yeah.
Who is comics, I believe.
Okay, gotcha. Is Starro comics?
Yeah, I think so. I could be wrong. I think so, though. That sounds about right.
It seems like a comic character.
It could not be. I mean, it's a great original character if it's not. So they're all going to go save Harley, and Harley's like being tortured at the time. And this is where we get, I think, the best visual sequence of the film is Harley's escape. They make a point to not have Harley be like the damsel in distress. You said that when we were watching it.
Yeah, I love that. So Rick Flagg and them decide to go save Harley because they're not going to leave her behind. And Harley has already saved herself at this fucking point. She's already killed that one guy, killed everybody in the building.
And like it's this great visuals where instead of it being the shells popping out the sides of the guns, you have flowers and butterflies.
Yeah. And she's wearing
it's
like
amazing visual. It's this red dress.
Yeah. Like a beautiful dress and like in like full like hair and makeup and everything.
But of course it's like messy as fuck.
Yeah.
Because she's been electrocuted and tortured for the past like 6 hours.
Yeah. And so she's like killed them all. She kills that one guy. So she's like handcuffed to the ceiling.
Yes.
And she kills this one guy by squishing his head between her thighs.
Which is the way I want to go.
I told Logan when we were watching that, I was like, that's gonna be everybody's like fucking fantasy.
Yeah, like everybody was really obsessed with that Resident Evil tall lady. I don't know. I call her Lady Tiramisu because I don't know her name, and I think it's funny.
But I think this is the new that.
This is the new thing, getting crushed to death with Harley Quinn's thighs. Totally there.
But yeah, so she kills him. She fucking escapes and kills everybody. And as she's like already escaped, and we have that like beautiful flower sequence, she's like walking the street, about to get in a taxi, and she sees like her fucking.
She also
team.
has her javelin back.
Yeah, she has her javelin, and she sees her fucking team like acting all covert.
Yeah, like she sees Bloodsport and Rick Flag run by, and Bloodsport's got his mask on. And Rick is like pointing everything out, and also the color grading in this scene's amazing, and it stays that way pretty much till the end of the movie. But you have like this bright day in this foreign country. Rick Flag's got like a bright yellow shirt on. Harley's got this bright red dress on. He really did the opposite of what the first Suicide Squad did. Because if you watch the first Suicide Squad, it's all neon and gross and dark colors and emo.
Yeah.
And this is more like vibrant and like alive, you know?
Especially the way they do like all the editing and everything. All
and the transitions where it's like, like it
Yeah.
says like Operation Jotunheim.
when it's like comic booky.
Exactly.
Which I did Google Starro. Starro is from the DC Comics.
That's what I thought, yeah.
He first appeared in Brave and the Bold number 28. But yeah, so she's like about to get in that taxi and everything, and she sees them, and she's like, "Oh, hi! Like, what were you guys doing?" And they're like, "Oh, we were gonna save you," and she's like, "Oh, that's so sweet."
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, you were gonna save me?" Like all like I can go back in there if you want to do it again, and they're just like, "Well, that'd be defeating the purpose."
Yeah.
And Rick even said at one point, "Yeah," and it was a really good plan.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, I think you're getting just the slightest hint that there could be a romantic interest between Mr. Rick Flagg and Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Just like a little bit of a hint. But anyway, so they gather up together. You get this great, raining, violent scene at Jotunheim. And
Jotunheim is like, they're supposed to
blow up this government
they're
building.
supposed to get this like scientist dude, Gaius Greaves, and they're supposed to get him so they can get access into this government building, Jotunheim, which they're told is like the head of the anti-American like terrorist group, and they're supposed to like fucking blow up the whole building, like literally like put explosives everywhere.
Yeah, King Shark takes his explosive and makes it look like Peacemaker. He's like, friend.
I know. Yeah, because earlier in the movie, when they're still like kind of in the foresty area, they find out that King Shark eats people.
Yeah. He's a fucking shark.
Yeah. And he like almost eats Ratcatcher too, which I really like that character. I feel like we haven't talked about her a lot, but we will.
Yeah, she's great, and her dad is played by Mr. Taika Waititi, Mr. Ratcatcher 1.
Yeah.
Love Taika Waititi. We're Taika Waititi stands over here. But
yeah, he goes to like eat Ratcatcher, and she like somebody wakes her up like right in the nick of time, and they like explain she explains like friendship to him, and is like, would you eat your friends? And they all become friends, and it's wholesome as fuck. I love it.
yeah, and the whole time in this movie, there's two things that they do really well. They do a good job of showing the isolation that King Shark feels by like having him not be able to go into the bar, having him kind of be ignored by some of the other members of the team. And the other thing that they do that's really great is they make you feel like anybody can die anytime, and the tension's
Definitely.
real. And that's the one thing that was really missing from the first Suicide Squad movie. I mean, at any point, and it showed too, because there are characters that die in this movie where you're so certain that they're definitely not going to die, and then they just fucking do.
Yeah.
And then, other like for instance, there's a scene where Bloodsport is falling 10 stories down a building, and the whole time I'm thinking, okay, Bloodsport's gonna die, like fuck, and he doesn't die. But then when Polka Dot Man is attacking Starro in this big epic scene where he's seeing Starro as his mother and he's attacking the ankle, and he screams, I'm a superhero, he's instantly murdered.
I forgot he died. Oh my god, that's awful.
Or when we find out eventually that Amanda Waller actually sent Peacemaker on a separate mission than every other member of the Suicide Squad, where she knew that people were gonna discover that it was actually an American operation, and she had Peacemaker there to destroy the evidence.
Yeah.
And he ends up killing Rick Flagg.
Yeah, literally, because Rick Flagg wants to take the evidence and expose it.
Yeah, disseminate it, because he says, I've fought for my country. I'm not fighting for them to be cruel to people.
Yeah, but Peacemaker's like weird allegiance to the
he's weird allegiance to the U.S., dude. He's patriotic.
Yeah, he's like some of these. I won't say it.
He's like what?
Some of these Trumpers.
Yeah, I think that he's definitely representative of that.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, he definitely thinks Blue Lives Matter.
Yeah, he has one of those big ass flags on the back of his truck.
Yeah, he's got a Punisher tattoo with the Blue Lives Matter flag on it.
He's got a Punisher tattoo and has never read a Punisher comic.
He doesn't, by the way, because that's not the right universe. But anyway,
I know.
I feel like that's going to be the new, like, if you're into Marvel and you're a cop, you get a Punisher tat. If you're into DC and you're a cop, you get a Peacemaker tat.
Horrible.
Which they are making a show, by the way, and I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, I bet it's gonna be good.
We'll definitely review it on a
excited.
pilot pod when it comes out.
Yeah, I'm excited that John Cena's gonna be in it too, because I really liked him in this character.
But anyway, I don't want to get much more into the plot. Basically, all these characters come together. They decide that they need to defeat Starro, and as a result, Bloodsport. This whole movie, you keep finding out like his father used to torture him and stuff to try to get him to be a better mercenary. He locked him in a crate with hungry rats.
Yeah.
And so he has a fear of rats, and that's Ratcatcher 2's whole power. And at one point, in order to defeat Starro, she needs to summon all the rats in this foreign country to like attack Starro. and as a result, he's kind of essentially calmly trampled.
Yeah.
But he puts up with it because, like, it's for the good of other people.
Yeah. It's for the kids.
And then this whole movie, there's like this constant repetitive notion of like this Javelin in Harley are like a thing now. Like it's like Javelin, the character gave it to Harley for whatever reason, and she needed it, and she uses it to penetrate the eye of Starro.
Jumps into his eye. What a cool visual.
And has this great like suspended space vibe, and then all these rats are able to get inside Starro through the eye.
It's crazy. It's crazy looking.
And then like you see Starro's eyes like all bloodshot, and you have the sad scene after he's defeated, where he says the Starro basically says through one of the people he's controlling because he can make smaller versions of himself that take over people's bodies, kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatcher style.
Yeah.
And one of the people he's taken over says like, I was happy floating around in space, because the Americans are the ones that captured him and brought him to Earth and forced this life upon him and this experimentation.
Yeah.
And he realized, like, you know, I mean, he's been in this building for such a long time, and yeah, it's horrible he was taking over people, but it was an act of vengeance, not an act of blind violence. He was put into this scenario.
He was being used as a weapon.
Yeah. And like that's basically how the movie ends, but there is one other thing I wanted to talk about.
What?
So earlier in the movie, there's this constant battle between Peacemaker and Bloodsport, and it's this whole thing where like, I'm a better murderer than you are.
Yeah.
And then John Cena says something along the lines of like, I am such a perfect shot that I can shoot within your bullet holes and not make them any bigger because I have smaller bullets.
Yeah.
And that, for some reason, ignites Bloodsport to be carrying a smaller caliber. And at one point, when he finds out that Peacemaker killed Rick Flagg and is basically like Peacemaker's like a bad dude, Bloodsport shoots him at the same time Peacemaker shoots him. And because Bloodsport's bullet is smaller, goes directly through Peacemaker's bullet into Peacemaker's neck. And at that point, you think Peacemaker's dead. And he goes, how'd you do it? And he says, small bullets. And it's like this great iconic scene.
And at this point, he gets the disc from him.
He gets the disc from him, yeah.
So he's able to expose
he uses that disc as blackmail to be like, you let everybody who did this job free, or this thing's going to go viral.
Yeah. And like gets his kid off, too.
Yeah, and get my kid off and stuff. And at that point, you think Peacemaker's dead, but you find out in the post-credits that not only is Weasel not dead, but neither is Peacemaker.
I want a Weasel movie.
I think we're good on that. All right. We went over the whole plot. Like I said, for some reason on Earth, if you've listened all the way through this and you still haven't watched it, I'd still recommend watching it because the comedy is great. The visuals are great.
I feel like we're still missing so much because it's just so good. Like Ratcatcher's whole story, Cleo. I love that character. I'm excited to see her in more.
Yeah.
And all the visuals where Polka Dot Man is visualizing like people as his mom, and like at one point he like has to visualize Starro as his mom, and it's just insane.
Yeah, Polka Dot Man, definitely one of the more sad people to die.
Yeah. So wait, who's left of the team now?
Yeah, Ratcatcher 2,
Ratcatcher Nanawe,
aka King Shark, Bloodsport, and Harley.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow. Yeah, James Gunn definitely killed the Suicide Squad.
And at no point, I know that he was given full creative freedom. He was allowed to kill any character he wanted, and that did include Harley Quinn.
I'm glad he didn't. I really Margot Robbie did a great job again. All the acting was great.
Yeah,
there's really no bad performance to talk about. There's not much negative to talk about with this movie.
I think my only negative with the movie is just, I wish this was the first one that came out.
Me too.
And then I also wish, oddly enough, it's about 2 hours long. I really feel like for once this could have used about another, I think it's 2 hours, 10 minutes. This could have used another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I would have liked more development on the beginning characters that were like totally chopped out.
I kind of think it's funny though that they...
No. It's great. I love the edit of the movie. I'm just saying where where I'm constantly dealing with these DC movies being too long, I feel like this one could have been longer. That's just how I feel.
I know you're talking about how it did bad at the box office.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go over.
Yeah.
So you were saying you can't wait to see Ratcatcher 2 and more things. I wouldn't get too excited.
Damn. Is she one of the characters that isn't doing well?
The whole movie didn't do well. So even by standards of COVID, this movie did $26 million.
Did it do better or worse than Black Widow?
Did way worse.
Wow.
And I want to go over some of the reasons why it did worse. First off, people don't want to see this movie because it's a sequel to Suicide Squad. I
wish we could just, if anybody has a DeLorean out there, go back and
just go
erase the first one.
Grab Christopher Lloyd. Get out there. Get rid of it. Also, it is R-rated, so that means that ultimately it's going to have a kickback of not many children are going to go see it.
Yeah.
It's on HBO Max during a pandemic.
Yeah.
John Cena had that controversy.
What?
You should look up John Cena country controversy. Also, there is a weird sentiment. I heard about this on the John Campea show, and I think that it's a good point. There is actually a set up acknowledgement that when you make a Will Smith movie sequel without Will Smith, the movie bombs.
Actor John Cena apologizes to Chinese audience after calling Taiwan a country.
Even though Taiwan is a country.
I was about to say, I don't know what Taiwan is.
So let me explain this. So Taiwan is a country, but the Chinese government is very tyrannical and territorial, and they don't accept Taiwan as a country. They consider it just a part of China. So when John Cena acknowledged that Taiwan was a country of its own, China got pissed. And since China is the biggest box office in the world, he went back and said, oh, sorry, I called Taiwan a country, even though it is. So basically, John Cena was spineless. And instead of rallying for the freedom of the tyrannical terror that China has over Taiwan, he sided with China because of the box office. A lot of people were not fucking happy about that.
I feel like I have no comment because that's so crazy of a controversy.
Exactly. And
he's sorry for being right, but he shouldn't have been sorry because he was right. Is essentially what it boils down to.
Basically, it's spineless. First of all, he should have never said anything about it. Very stupid. Things are very controversial there.
This is just like a Cena.com. John Cena's China apology. What you need to know. Like, I'm over it.
So yeah, for the record, we fully acknowledge that Taiwan's a country.
Yeah.
Here on the Crosscut Cinema podcast.
I mean, I just learned it's a country, so there you go.
That's because Franny's an idiot, not because she has any political standing over China's tyranny over Taiwan.
Yeah, that's just because I don't know the map.
But anyway, so that was a big deal. Also, James Gunn did have the controversy about the Twitter stuff that is acknowledged. There's tons of things, but also Harley Quinn is a big reason too, because Birds of Prey did a lot better money but had terrible critical reviews. The first Suicide Squad had terrible critical reviews. So when people hear, even though they like Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, there's a lot of people out there who go, well, why the fuck am I going to see that every single time she's Harley Quinn something? The movie sucks.
Yeah, I feel like this was the time she got to be the best because the movie was good.
Because she got to be the supporting character. It's like whenever Val Kilmer's in a movie, if you make him the main character, aside from like The Doors, it sucks because he's a character actor. If you put him in the limelight, you're not giving him enough time to act wild and crazy and basically be that wacky side character. Since Harley wasn't in the spotlight, she got to do more things that wasn't so much main character energy.
Yeah.
She got to do the more wacky things. She got to be the more ridiculous character. Whereas Bloodsport was a great protagonist for this, I guess you could say even anti-hero, for this movie. Because even though he is a bad guy, his intentions are nothing but good.
And Idris Elba is great.
Idris Elba is sexy. Oh my God.
Definitely.
Whew. Anyway.
There's a lot of good eye candy in this movie.
So with
on
that,
both sides.
So with the fact that the China thing happened, I know that I don't know if it premiered in China or not. I know they're having issues with that box office, but I feel like if it did, that's going to be affected because of John Cena. And people see that Will Smith didn't come back for the sequel. They're assuming because he didn't want to do the movie. There are tons of reasons why this movie didn't work out. And what's really sad is that this is the best movie that no one's watching. Like, this is definitely the best DC movie. Ooh, let me see here. I'm going to say this is the best DCEU movie. Unless you're like I know there's a lot of really, really big Man of Steel stands out there, and there's a lot of people who like Shazam. I get that. For me, I feel like this movie is actually fun to watch, which like I get that it's not as like well directed as like Man of Steel, or it's not like as expensive and explosive as Aquaman, but or as fun or even as funny as Shazam. But what it is it's fully entertaining. It's like Tarantino made a superhero movie. That's the way it feels.
Definitely, especially with the editing.
It's totally insane.
When I was Googling if the Suicide Squad premiered in China, something came up, I guess, in the 2016 Suicide Squad. It was unlikely to premiere in China for some reason, but it ended up premiering. Do you know anything about that, Logan?
No, I don't.
Me either.
No
but
clue.
I guess just Suicide Squad just keeps not.
I know that people are
them.
also weird about the title Suicide Squad, but here's I mean the title Suicide Squad, it being R-rated, it being a sequel to
it eventually got the China release, I guess.
The movie being definitely a sequel to a not so great movie played into it. But I understand why Warner Brothers was like, let's let James Gunn do whatever he wants, because he took Guardians of the Galaxy, a total not property, a nothing property, and turned it into a huge franchise. I mean, when you talk about everybody's favorite Marvel movies, they go, oh, Avengers, and then always the next in line every time is like, I love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Those are the movies that are the most digestible for people who are getting into these kind of films, because they're really soft-boiled comedies with action in them. Yeah,
and you don't have to like know a bunch of backstory and a bunch of superheroes, and you don't have to start from the beginning to get every reference. Like you can
and the good thing about this movie is it does stand on its own. If you didn't see the original Suicide Squad, you don't need anything. No. It literally re-explains what the Suicide Squad is, and I do agree though. One of the critiques that people have been putting out there is that this movie would have done about 1 million times better if they would have called it Task Force X.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just going to be honest. Even if you called it Task Force X, the Suicide Squad.
I wonder why they just decided to say fuck it and go with the Suicide Squad.
Because James Gunn had full creative control with this project.
Oh.
They weren't even going to make a Suicide Squad sequel. But because he said that's what he wanted to do, they said greenlit, go. They're talking about he's saying that he wants to do like a Gotham movie. They're like, well, we can't give you Batman, but we'll give you any other Gotham thing you want, go.
Wow.
And they're like, the only reason we can't give you Batman is because there's a dude working on Batman right now. If he had gotten in before Matt Reeves got that movie, they would have given him Batman.
Oh my God.
And they're smart to do it. It's just the issue is maybe they gave him too much creative control. Maybe they should have worked on the title. Maybe they should have held it till the world reopened. And even though I personally benefited because of our current situation, having it on HBO Max, if you're going to base its success on how it did the box office, don't put it on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Because a lot less people are going to go out and see it. And this is the kind of movie where it would benefit from repeat watches.
Definitely.
Like when Guardians came out, I went and saw it like 3 times.
Yeah.
And when Avengers came out, I went and saw it like 5 times. And this movie really does have like Justice League was trash. But this movie does have Avengers vibes, where it's a group of kooky characters coming together, and it's epic as fuck.
Yeah, it is.
I really feel like this is the kind of movie where people would have went and saw it multiple times, but when you put it on HBO Max, they can do it from their living room.
Yeah.
So I hope that they don't base the box office result and people's opinions on this based, I hope they don't decide, oh, we're not going to do any more projects with James Gunn, although I'm pretty sure they will, or they're not going to do any more Suicide Squad projects because of this, because I feel like now it's a nice well to go to. I feel like in the same way Marvel goes back to Avengers sequels, DC could do the opposite. You could go back to James Gunn Suicide Squad sequels.
Right.
Give us that movie where they fight Superman. I want to see it. I want to see the worst supervillains ever fight God. That's what I want to see. Give me that movie.
Honestly, I want more content with them.
Give us them interacting. Like, this is a group of supervillains. Can you give us them interacting with superheroes?
Yeah, because that's what I said at the top. Like, there wasn't really like a good guy in this besides
like now we're on the side. Like, you've sold us Nanawe. People are gonna love him. He's got Groot energy.
Oh my god, it was so sad when he almost died.
I know. Every single time he would be in danger, Franny would threaten to turn off the film because she was scared he was gonna get hurt.
Yeah. I love him.
She loved him. She thought he was the best.
I want a Nanawe plushie.
That'd be cool.
I feel like that
a nice king. And the thing is, we watched eventually we're going to review this on a pilot pod, but we watched the Harley Quinn animated series.
Oh my god,
on HBO. And that King Shark is also great. Like,
yeah,
it's a totally different depiction, but it just shows that like King Shark could totally be in like the public consciousness right now. He's got like that clout where both representations of him in media are just so funny right now and so fun that they could do it. So yeah, I'm excited to see what James Gunn does next. I know for a fact they've already said whatever he wants to do, he can come back and do it. It's already out in the open. He just can't do Wonder Woman.
I'm excited to see where Sean Gunn goes in the DC universe.
Yeah, where he goes in the DC.
Will just put
because
him in
he was Weasel, so it's like he can still play a physical person.
Yeah, and I mean with his brother directing, he just puts him in everything.
Puts him in everything, yeah.
So,
who was your favorite character in the movie?
My favorite new character? I'm going to say
just
new
character.
Oh, fuck. Okay. I really liked Cleo, Ratcatcher 2.
Ratcatcher 2,
and
wow.
I liked her story, yeah.
She was awesome. The scene where in the movie it flashes back to her talking to Taika Waititi, Ratcatcher 1, was so sweet and like genuine. But I also... And also they depicted that character as a sweet, good character, and he was a heroin addict.
Yeah. I really liked her and King Shark's like dynamic too. How they were like friends, and she was just like an animal lover. Who's your favorite character?
I'm kind of caught. I think that I love Sebastian.
I know.
I love like his dynamic with Bloodsport. I think that it's cute that like at the end of the movie, after everything's said and done, a very petrified, still scared Bloodsport is petting him, and Sebastian's got a little red vest on. And also the scenes where you thought Sebastian might die, those were insane.
Yeah, absolutely not. Because I was cuddling our 8-pound, very rat-like Chihuahua. I was like, this is my Sebastian.
But for me, I think Polka Dot Man was the best character.
He was great. I loved all the scenes with him, and like the mom visuals and everything were so funny.
He was just so also like believable.
Yeah. While having an intergalactic virus, he was believable.
And you know, like every single time they would cut to him for a joke, like that guy, he's such a good character actor. He was like, he played a crazy dude in The Dark Knight. He plays like the weird foreign like professional break-in guy in the Ant-Man movies. He's really good at these character roles, and it's good to see him since he's kind of like a smaller actor getting such a big role.
Yeah.
I want to see him do more wacky shit. I think he would be a great supervillain in something like, but you know, he's Polka Dot Man. But I
really like Polka Dot Man. I'm sad Polka Dot Man died.
Yeah, it's definitely it's harsh, but it elevates the movie when anybody could die at any moment. So yeah, Polka Dot Man probably for me. So what do you want to rate it?
10.
You're gonna give it a 10?
9.5.
That's insane.
9.5.
I'm definitely in the 8 category. I think that there's definitely problems. I think sometimes the comedy falls a little short.
Yeah. As
any comedy would. And I also think that the guy, what's his name? The Gaius, whatever his name is.
Gaius Greaves.
I think that he's underused.
He is.
I feel like he's just kind of there and then he's just not.
Yeah.
I would have liked him better if he had done a little more. But who was the one driver who got murdered that was with him the whole time?
Oh fuck, I forget his
name. His name was like
Winston or
Winston or something. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Milton.
Milton.
Yeah.
When Harley thought
Bloodsport's name was Milton.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They're like, we're friends, right? She's like, yeah, Milton.
Yeah, Milton, we're friends. He's like, that's not my name. I think the saddest death goes to Rick Flagg.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally give you a close-up of his heart and everything.
And they give you like a moment of like him and Harley like looking at each other and stuff.
And being
like,
adorable. And they give him a moment of like he genuinely, he doesn't hold it against these criminals that they're criminals. He
sees them as people.
He sees them as people, yeah. He tries to protect them at all costs.
Yeah. You
know, they're his brother in arms. He I mean, he fell in love with Enchantress, for crying out loud. Yeah. Clearly, even though I consider him to be a Captain America like figure where he's like very much like, I fight for my country, I do this, I do that. He's also very like open book, you know?
Yeah.
So that was definitely the hardest character death for me, because in the first movie I fucking hated Rick Flagg. He was annoying and an asshole, and in this he's a real character for the first time, and it doesn't really matter. It's done. Yeah.
I know. I wanted him and Harley to have a moment at the end too. I thought we were going to get that, and then we just didn't.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that's all she wrote.
Yeah. Yeah, folks.
Yeah, folks.
Yeah, folks.
So when we get back to reviewing things again, I think the next episode, should we say it or?
We could say it. I feel confident that it's.
So we're gonna do Black Widow, obviously, and we're gonna go over a lot of the law stuff with that.
Yeah.
And then also we're gonna be reviewing, since it has come back to Netflix, it has infested my life once again.
Although it has never left my heart, I've never stopped being obsessed with Twilight.
Once again become the thorn in my side. The fucking splinter in my toe.
We're gonna review New Moon.
Yeah, we're gonna review New Moon.
I tried to convince Logan to let me just review all of them,
but you really want to blow your whole load right away?
I just love them. I'm reading.
What happens in a couple of years when you don't have any more to review, but you want to?
You're right. I'll start a book podcast and talk about.
You could. You really could.
But I'm reading Midnight Sun for any of the listeners out there. Also reading that. It's pretty good.
Anyway, guys, when we come back, Bridget and Madison will be back with us, hopefully. I believe so.
They will be.
Yes. And you can check us out on youtube.com/crosscutcinema. Review us everywhere you get your podcast, whether it be Apple, Spotify, Pocket Podcast, Google Podcast, wherever you get it. Please review it. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and you can also listen to Logan and I on a pilot podcast, which we talked about a little bit on here, where we review pilots of 2 different TV shows. Alongside
our friend CL Blue.
And recording artist. But yeah, you can find us at youtube.com/apilotpodcast. Yeah. Thank you for listening today. Let us know what you thought in the comments.
And also make sure to check out my personal channel.
Yeah.
youtube.com/Logan Tyler. Sorry, Logan Tyler Music. I fucked you up, dog.
Wait, you have to subscribe to Logan's channel though. Wait, you got the URL.
I got
already.
it, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yep.
But you still guys subscribe. Went over and do it.
Yeah, subscribe. I post private podcasts over there, in the sense that it's like me talking to some friends. I post extra content there, bonus clips, whatever it may be. You can find on that channel. So if you're looking for extra content from me and my friends, that is the way to do it.
All right, guys. We'll see ya. We'll see you next time.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.